What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of The Girl Who Talks Sports, the podcast where we talk sports and other girly things. I am Sam Cardona, and thank you guys so much for listening today. I am super excited for this week's episode. You guys can't see it on the video, but I'll lift it up. I have my New York Giants shirt on today because we had a very special guest on, a reoccurring guest who has been giving me the time of day, which is so exciting. Chris Guzzo, also known as the Entertainah Talkin Sports, came on. We talked about how he started his very successful YouTube channel and all of that stuff. We talked about the Giants and their offseason, and then we kind of spiraled off to the end of that interview with just a bunch of football offseason things. So it was a really fun interview, and it was really, really fun to have Chris on the podcast again. So before we get into that interview, though, of course, we have to do our plugs. So guys, don't forget to follow, subscribe, whatever it is that you do on any and all podcasting platforms. And please make sure that you leave a review because it's very helpful for me when you guys leave reviews. So, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Girl Who Talks Sports. So subscribe, turn on notifications, like the video, comment on the video, all that good stuff, guys. It's very helpful for me. And I'm only like 20 or 19 subscribers away from 100, so maybe I'll do something exciting for when I get 100 subscribers. So make sure that you guys subscribe and tell your friends, tell your family, tell your grandma, tell everybody about us. And finally, guys, follow us on social, TGWTS Podcast on both Twitter and on Instagrams. So we put up really fun stuff on the social media. I have a great time on there. I feel like I'm on it too often. I hope I'm not bothering anybody because I post on Twitter and like my Instagram story all the time because I'm addicted to social media. Anyway, before we get into our show, I just want to talk to you guys quickly about Buzzsprout. And Buzzsprout is something that has changed my whole way of doing my podcasting. I'm sure some of you guys have thought about making a podcast. And with Buzzsprout, guys, it is so easy. It is so easy to make a podcast with Buzzsprout. And Buzzsprout is the actual type of thing that I use to put out my podcast. It distributes it to all the different types of podcasting platforms and all that good stuff. So, like I said, it is the best and easiest way to start your own professional podcast, and they've helped over 100,000 people, including myself, start a podcast in the easiest possible way. So, they get your podcast on all major podcasting platforms. They provide you with your own podcasting website, audio players to drop in other websites, detailed analytics tools to promote your episodes, so on and so forth. And if you're kind of stuck and you need a little bit of help, they publish blogs, they publish their own podcasts to help you out and kind of give you a fresh look on everything that you're doing. So, to start your very own podcast today and get a free $20 Amazon gift card, no joke, you just get $20 just completely to your Amazon, just real easy stuff. Click the link in the show notes, and Buzzsprout will know that you were sent by me, the girl who talks sports, and it also helps to support the show. So Buzzsprout, guys, is the easiest way to start a podcast. All right, guys, let's get into this interview with Chris Guzzo, also known as the Entertainah Talking Sports. Just a quick disclaimer. I know some of the stuff that we're talking about is a little bit outdated. We recorded this on Monday. What's today? Yeah, the 8th, March 8th. And a bunch of things went down right after we finished recording, including Leonard Williams getting franchise tagged and Dak Prescott getting his new deal. So we're going to talk about Dak's deal after the interview with Chris. And otherwise, enjoy. Okay, everyone, we are joined today by Chris Guzzo, the Entertainah Talking Sports. Once again, he has come back for a second time, which I'm so, so grateful for. Chris, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, I had a blast last time. Love what you're doing over here. So thank you for having me on. Excited to talk.
Of course. And we are going to get into some Giants talks because some things have been going down. This offseason has been a little, back and forth for the Giants, I think. So we're going to get into a bunch of stuff. But I've been doing a lot of origin stories recently. I kind of want to hear how content creators got into creating their content and so on. So I kind of want to start with your YouTube channel. You have a very big following now, and I'm curious, what made you start it? When did you start it? And like, how did you kind of like get into all this?
Yeah, I mean, I think I started my channel I started my channel, I think, for the same reason most people should start their channel. I don't know if everybody does, for fun, as a hobby.
Right.
And I just broke it up with my ex-girlfriend at the time. It was about, not just broken up, but about 6 months single. And this is about, I've been on YouTube now for almost 3 years. And
Wow.
I was looking to, I guess, just get my mind off things and just create a hobby and do something for fun. And, I was talking to my friends. We used to have a group chat, and I'd always send like silly videos talking about sports. And they said, "Oh, you're pretty funny. You're entertaining. You should try a YouTube channel, just as a hobby." And I started, and it was just a joke at first. I was almost like playing, like, obviously when you hear me talk, I'm from New York, but it was like even more so. Like, I played a character like it was over the top, in your face,
Right.
and I just having fun with it. And then I slowly started to realize that people actually come to YouTube to get legitimate sports opinions, because which I didn't know. I was just doing it as a joke. And, they go to ESPN. That's what I used to think. Like me, that's where I went. ESPN,
Right.
Fox Sports, so on and so forth. And I think it's more and more becoming that people go to different outlets to receive their sports opinions, because they're sick of the talking heads. They want opinions from fans and people that are more educated than a guy like Stephen A. Smith, for example. But that's not a knock on him. It's hard to be able to, I guess, stay in tune with 32 different football teams, 30 different basketball teams, all at the same time. So I think people feel like they get better quality content coming to, whether it be a podcast or whether it be YouTube or whatever. And I slowly started to realize that. And then I just started to take the channel much more seriously. And yeah, about a year and a half in, I started to realize that people actually value my opinion, and I love doing what I was doing. And yeah, it was then where I really like started to focus on trying to do this full time.
Yeah, so like when was it that you kind of got this like very large following and you started to realize like, oh, this can be something that I can actually do full time for a job? Like at what point after you made your channel did you realize that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I would say about 6 to 8 months in. I don't know if I don't okay. So it took me, I didn't go live until I had about 1,500 subscribers. I only made videos, never went live. And I said, people ask me all the time for like advice, like what, not that I'm like this like unbelievably large channel. There's people with millions of subscribers, but people in the sports community ask me for like advice, like, how did you grow your channel? And, the first thing I think you need to do, I see a lot of people do what I think is a mistake, is when they first start a channel, they'll go live right away and they'll pick up some subscribers doing it that way, but you're not really building a core base, at least in my opinion. That's what I did. I didn't go live at all, and I just pumped out videos, stated my opinion, built up a following of people that respected my opinion. And then once I had that base, when I went live, I had 50 or 60 people, as opposed to people that go live and they have 8 people. And you're not going to really attract anybody into your live streams if you don't have a core base.
Right.
So that's kind of what I did. And I don't know, I would say like 6 to 8 months in, I don't know if I ever thought that I'd be able to do this full time, but I thought that I legitimately could turn this into something that could grow and people respect. I would say about going in to the 2019 season. Actually, no, I would say going into last season, rather 2020, is when I really said to myself, yeah, I could do this full time, or I could at least attempt to try to do this full time going into 2020.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome though. And the live streams are so fun too, especially when you do like you have your game on and then you're doing the play by play as the game is going. It is so refreshing because some of these announcers are just awful. Like it is it is like it hurts sometimes to like sit down, watch the Giants game and listen to these guys. To be honest, I think Joe Buck is a little biased. I really don't
You
think
think?
he likes New York anything. Even when I watch like New York baseball, like Yankees, everything, like he doesn't like them. I don't know why, but it's refreshing to kind of like, even mute the TV and just have the Entertainah talking to you throughout this whole game, and then you make it more fun. It's like, why am I going to sit here and listen to these guys just spewing out of their butts just nonsense about whatever's going on? But
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
really cool.
yeah, I love it. But when I first did the streams, I didn't know to take it seriously. I just got on there, and because all my subscribers asked me, you should go live, you should try to do the game, and I didn't take
Right.
it seriously when I first started. I was drinking, I was just yelling, and not even really doing what I felt like was a good play-by-play. And then I started to quickly realize that people actually value my play-by-play, because there's a lot of people from outside the New York market. There's people from overseas. There's people that can't see the televised game.
Right.
And I think what the other thing it does, like you said, it creates a fun atmosphere. Like, it's almost like you're surrounded, even though it's virtually and it's in a chat room, it's almost like it enhances the experience, like me getting into the game. And it's almost like it's a virtual stadium where there's 2,000 people in there at once watching the same game at the same time, cheering and yelling and screaming and at the same time about what's going on. So it's fun. I enjoy it.
So I'm actually curious. So like, I know you're from New York. I'm also from New York. Where did the Entertainah Talkin Sports name come from? Is it something that you just thought up? Is it something someone offered to you? Like, where did that name come from?
It's just random.
Really?
Yeah. Like I said, when I first did this channel, it was just on a whim, and I just I got to put something. I think I originally just called it the Entertainah, and then like a month in, people were like, you should just call it Talkin Sport, Entertainah Talkin Sports. But all I wanted to, I basically just wanted to start putting up videos. I'm like, whatever, I'm just gonna put in a channel name, and I just wanted to have like a new, because like I said, even though I'm super New York, I was like even more so over the top at first, and I wanted to have like a New York vibe to the channel name. So I just, instead of ER, I just made it AH, like a New York Entertainah. Like, I don't know, like a New York vibe. That was the only thought process behind the channel name at all.
But that's fine. That's fun though, because especially being, you don't just do the Giants, obviously, you do the Knicks as well and the Mets, right?
Yeah, I'll be doing some Mets games too. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's, you're all New York teams. It gives that New York flair a little bit. Some people, are from New York, but they're from upstate New York. It's not the same. If you're going past the Bronx, it's upstate. Like there's
Right.
I don't care what anybody says. So if you're in Yonkers, that's it. You're already upstate. But I love that the flair that you have and everything with the New York. I mean, I'm not really into basketball and I'm a Yankee fan, so I'm mostly following you for your New York Giants stuff, but it's great. And so I also kind of want to know what, like, when you put out videos, what makes you go like, okay, this is the topic I'm going to talk about. This is the amount of time I'm going to talk about it before people start getting bored. You know what I mean?
Huh. I think that's something that you figure out as you go along.
Yeah.
2 years ago, I put out a lot more content than I do now. When I was trying to grow, I would put out like 2 videos, 3 videos a day. Sometimes I still do that from time to time when there's a lot to talk about, but I'm talking about daily. Any little thing I'd put out. Now, I think what I've realized is, rather than doing like a 4-minute video of a breaking news or a 5-minute video, I try to give like a little more quality, and I'll wait until there's like a couple of things to talk about. And then I'll try to I never try to exceed 12 minutes. Unless it's like a mock draft, then you really have no choice. That's more like a half-hour type video. But I like my videos to be between, I don't want it to be too short. So I like to go like 8 to 12 minutes in that ballpark. I used to do a lot of 5-minute videos, and a lot of people used to tell me, I love what you're doing, I just wish it was a little bit longer. Like, people would tune into the videos and they'd be like, it's only 4.5 minutes long. They're like, so then I started to slow things down. And I used to be the guy that and I still try to get things up in a timely manner when something big happens. But I used to be the guy that like tried to break the news on YouTube. But then I like quickly realized, I remember, when I first really realized that people really, like, I guess, respect my opinion. I was at my part-time job at the time when the Joe Judge news broke about that he was gonna be the head coach for the Giants, and I was pissed because I was always like the guy that tries to get it up before everybody else, or at least right around where everybody else gets it up. And I just started work, and it was like, I don't remember what time it was, maybe like 11 o'clock, and I was working till like 5. And I was like, all right, should I just go in my car and make like a 5-minute video, or should I wait and it'll be more quality? I'll have the green screen, I'll be able to break down quotes and whatever. And I waited, and I saw all the Giants YouTubers put it out at like noon, and they were all getting decent views, but it was breaking news. I posted at like 6. I had more views in the first 30 minutes than any of them had in the first 6 hours. And then I said to myself, from that point forward, I'm like, I'm going to make sure I put out quality content, and not be a newsbreaker, but be a guy that gives you a valuable opinion. And that was really the moment where I like actually realized that people actually respect my opinion. And when, I'm not saying everybody, obviously everybody's got their, flavor that they like, but that's when I realized like, I'm going to really not so much rush things, just make sure I get out a good opinion and do it when I feel it's appropriate. So, that's valuable, when people actually come to you because they value what you talk about. It's one thing to be able to break the news, and people run there. So that's another step probably when I realized I could start to really think about doing this full time.
And I need to know, I like to ask people this question, especially Giants fans, how you got into being a fan. And I also want to hear about, the Mets and the Knicks as well, how you got into them, because I feel like everybody has a different story. Some people don't grow up in a Giants family. They just decide to go for the Giants. So what is your story? How did you end up becoming a Giants fan?
Okay. I'll say all 3 teams. Knicks were actually my first love. When I was like really little, I was born in 85. So when I was really little, the Knicks were awesome. Like in the early 90s, that was like when the Knicks were the pinnacle.
Right.
And I fell in love with that team. I still say to this day, and I don't say one's I like more than the other. They're like my 3 kids that I don't have. Like I love the Giants, Mets, and Knicks equally. Right. But when I first started getting into sports, it was the Knicks. Like the Knicks were the toast of the town, 92, 93, 94, 95. Yeah. I fell in love with that team. I love that team, the hardworking mentality, the blue collar mentality. I used to watch all the games with my dad. Loved that team. So, that was just kind of, they were the hot team. They represented New York, and I fell in love with them. The Mets, I was always like a casual baseball. Baseball was my best sport of playing and growing up. I played it in high school. I actually pitched against Prince Fielder, but I was a pretty good baseball player.
Oh.
Yeah. So I was like a casual baseball watcher, though. I was more so a player. Like I played it every day. I was on travel teams. I was playing like 6 days a week, but I wasn't like super into baseball. I was like, I rooted for both the Mets and Yankees. Yeah. Now I don't like the Yankees. I'm like a diehard Mets fan, but it was actually, I think it was 98 or 99. I went to a Subway Series game when I was like 13 or 14 at Shea Stadium, and it was it's still to this day the greatest game I've ever been to live. The Yankees and the Mets went back and forth. The Yankees hit like 6 home runs, and they were winning 8-7 going into the 9th. And Mariano Rivera, as you know, is the greatest closer ever. He was pitching, and at that point, if I'm not mistaken, he hadn't blown a save for about a year and a half. This was 99. And the Mets ended up winning the game in the 9th. They had a walk-off, pinch hit, seeing eye single off the bat of Matt Franco, was the Mets best pinch hitter then. And that was when the stadium just erupted. It felt like the stadium was like shaking. And that's when I made the unfortunate decision to become a Mets fan, because life would have been a lot easier had I picked the Yankees. But I take pride. Like a lot of people, they'll come into my streams when I do the Mets. They'll be like, "Oh, why aren't you a Yankees fan?" Why, I take pride in being a Mets fan. I think Mets fans are awesome. I think they're diehards. I love Mets fans. So I always rationalize with myself, and I say, just me personally, I would be bored if I was a Yankees fan. Like that, like they're always at the top. They're always spending the most money. Right. Like when the Mets finally win a championship, I'm gonna feel like 30 championships. So I take pride in rooting for the Mets. But that Subway Series game was really what drove me to the Mets. And then the Giants, again, growing up as a kid, like I said, the Knicks were my first love. I was like a casual football fan as well up until about the age of maybe 11 or 12, and I fell in love with that Giants team in like 99. That's when I really started getting into them, around 13 or 14. Tiki Barber, I loved him. I named my first dog Tiki after I started getting into the Giants. I love Tiki Barber. Aww. And then obviously I didn't like what he did to Eli at the tail end of his career. And Eli Manning, I always said, he's my favorite athlete of all time. Not just Giants, not just Knicks. Favorite athlete. And Eli just made me. I was definitely like a diehard before Eli got there, but he made me like a super diehard. Like I fell in love with Eli Manning. I fell in love with Tom Coughlin. and that whole team after that. But I would say Tiki Barber was my first love for the Giants, and right around 98, 99. My dad was a Giants fan too, which I'm sure contributed to it also.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. I love that. I don't know, you probably can't see it. This is a Tiki Barber football card right here.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I do see it. Yeah.
But I kind of fall in the same boat as you in terms of baseball. Like, I like it. I'll watch every once in a while. I played softball for forever, but I just could not get into it the same way as like I'm just like die hard about football for some reason. I don't know why. I've never played the sport ever in my life, but it's weird that like the way that baseball is, it's like if you're playing it, it's like more fun to play it than to sit down and watch somebody else play it. Because
I agree with that, but I also think because I played, I enjoy the sport more to watch it, because when I watch like a Met game, I'll put myself in that spot. Like, because I used to pitch, so I'd be like, oh, what is he going to throw here? What would I throw here if I was pitching? So from a mental aspect, I actually think because baseball seems to be like a dying sport with the younger generation. Mm-hmm. But I think because I played the game, I think now that I'm older, when I watch it, I respect it, because I think about what I would do in those situations, whether I'm the hitter or whether I'm the pitcher, what pitch is coming here. Is he going to throw a slider? Things like that. So I get what you're saying, because, same thing. When I was like 12, all I cared about was playing baseball. I wasn't like, and football, I didn't really play it. I played it up to like 13 or 14, but I never played at a high level because I was really skinny as a kid. I was like 130 pounds soaking wet. I looked like Devontae Smith. But, yeah. But no, no, I get where you're going with, but I also think I kind of enjoy it because I played it as well, in terms of watching it.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel that. I just think that, well, also for me, like, I'll watch, like, if you ever watch college softball, I know it's not like the most popular sport, but for me, I'd rather sit down and watch a college softball game than watch a Major League Baseball game, because it's just faster. There's shorter innings and the field is smaller, so the ball gets places quicker. But when I was playing softball, I used to catch, and my dad and I would sit down and watch baseball games, softball games, and he would like teach me through the games and like point at things, be like, see how they drop their knees so that the ball doesn't go through. Because like I was like 13 learning how to catch. But yeah, no, I mean, it's fun to play the sport and watch the sport, but I totally feel what you're getting at, where it's like,
football is definitely the better. Football's the best TV sport. There's no doubt about it. The best TV sport. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've only been to like 2 basketball games in my life, but the 2 that I've gone to are much more exciting to sit there and watch a basketball game than to actually sit down and watch it on TV. So,
100%. I'm not even a hockey fan. I'm not even a hockey fan. I've been to a number of hockey games. I love hockey live. I can't get into it on TV because I can't follow the puck. But but I do. I actually think, as crazy as it sounds, and I love football, in terms of just the viewing experience. I'm not talking about the tailgating. I'm not talking just watching the game in itself. I actually think football is much better on TV than live. I think you just get a better experience watching it on TV.
Yeah.
I can't say the same about baseball. I can't say this. Baseball is better live. I think basketball is better live. And I think hockey's better live. I actually think football, because of all the different camera angles and also it's just cool to be able to sit on your couch and then at 4:00 be able to turn on the next game. When you go to the game, you don't get home until 7:00. Yeah. And so it's only once a week. You like to get the whole experience. So I do like to go to a Giants 1 or 2 games a year, but I think it's a better TV sport.
Yeah, I think so too. Unless you're sitting, like on the 50-yard line and you can see either sides of the field, like it's kind of hard to follow football when you're like maybe in an end zone or like then they go all the way to the other side of the field and you're like, well, can't see anything. And then you're just watching on the Jumbotron anyway, which is like what you could be doing at your couch. But football games are more like when you go, you just get the experience of the tailgating.
It's the experience. Yeah.
And just like being around other fans and getting all that energy. And then, then you got to drive home and try to beat the traffic out of the parking lot. And then it's like, that's a whole other sport in and of itself, to be quite honest with you. Getting out of MetLife's parking lot, super hard for no reason. Don't know why. But I want to talk about the Giants for a little bit, because obviously you're big fan. I'm a really big fan. and you know a lot about this stuff. So I know that the other day you went live talking about Golden Tate, David Mayo getting released on the 3rd, I believe it was, by the
Yeah.
New York Giants. You know, overall, what are your thoughts on losing Golden Tate and David Mayo? And do you think that this is a positive thing for the Giants or a negative thing?
Yeah, I think it needed to happen.
Yeah.
And it's not even a knock, you know, like a lot of people like told me like in season, oh, you're only saying they should cut Golden Tate because of what happened in season where his girlfriend came at the Giant, whatever. I said that before the year started. It's just about money. Like
Yeah.
at this point, I cannot justify paying Golden Tate 10 or 11 million dollars when you could save 6 or 7 with the shrunken cap. Like you need to be able to get as much money as you can. Golden Tate, I still think he's a pretty good receiver, but he clearly showed last year he doesn't fit the scheme. He was brought in here to be in Pat Shermer's scheme. Okay,
Right,
that's why we
right.
brought him in. And he's actually really good the year before. He did miss 4 games due to the steroids or whatever it was.
Right.
But he actually, and he caught for like 700 yards on like 11 starts. He had 6 touchdowns. He played really well for us the year before, but he fit Shermer's scheme much better. I don't think he's a great fit for Garrett's scheme. He's 32 years old. We know that we need to get younger at the position. It was an obvious cut for me. David Mayo, really the same thing. Mayo, I didn't mind bringing him back, even though I questioned it after we signed Martinez last year, because I think they're pretty similar. And I didn't think that was the best usage of $3 million. But this year he carried no dead cap hit. Martinez proven to be a really good linebacker last year.
Yep.
Crowder was pretty good for a 7th round selection. He stepped in and played fairly well. And I expect them to draft a linebacker too in this year's draft at some point. So I'm completely for both cuts. And I'm also for the Cody Core cut today. That saved another $2 million. I like Core, but the guy got hurt last year. He's a special teamer. We just don't have that luxury, in my opinion, to be paying a gunner $2 million a year. It just can't do it.
Yeah, I agree. I think with the Giants wide receiver things right now, like they need to kind of compact everything and just put in the effort, find somebody in free agency or draft somebody, whatever they end up doing, and get somebody who is going to provide. Because I remember watching last year, like Tate would get like 1 catch a game by the end of the season. And it was exhausting to see. And then they're also throwing to Ingram, who's dropping the balls left and right. And I'm like, why are we throwing it to him when Golden Tate's open in the end zone? Like, I don't understand. But to be fair, I to be honest, that whole thing that happened with him with the PEDs and the fertility drug and everything, that really pissed me off because he did everything in his power to come out and say like, you know, I'm sorry about doing it. I won't do it again. I didn't mean to. I wasn't doing this for all these reasons. And yet they still suspended him for those 4 games. It got me so mad. And it just really pissed me off. But regardless of the fact, that's all in the past now, and he's not even on the team anymore. But I think that Golden Tate, you know, is going to be great somewhere else. And I think that now is the time that we find someone who's going to be a star and someone that Daniel Jones can show that he's got talent and he's got a receiver that's got talent and they can work together. So my next question is, what do you think that the Giants are going to do in free agency and the draft, and what do you want them to do?
Yeah. I think they go 2 different ways. Free agency's tough because, you know, we don't have a lot of money, you know, with everything. And we've got 2 guys on our defense that meant a lot last year in Tomlinson and Leonard Williams that are free agents.
Right.
And you look at our cap space right now, I think in the end, we're going to have, they'll get it up to about $35 to $40 million. I think they'll do some restructures. They'll do some cuts. And their options I don't think they're going to be able to keep both. I think they're going to have to let one go. And I hate saying that. I love both those guys. I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, I've been on record as saying that I would franchise tag Leonard Williams if I could, because I don't want to give him a 5-year commitment. I don't want to pay this guy $21 million a year, as much as I think he fits the scheme beautifully. And I think we need him back. If I get him on a 2 or 3 year deal, I'd love it. I don't think he's going to cooperate, though. I think he's a guy that's going to try to get as much as he can. He knows there's going to be a desperate team out there, much like we were in 2016 when we signed guys to 5-year deals like Olivier Vernon, Janoris Jenkins, Snacks Harrison. There's going to be a team out there. There always is that overpays, and he knows that. And I don't blame him. Get what you can. It's a business, right? You put your body on the line every Sunday. But from a Giants perspective, I don't want to sign him to more than a 3-year commitment, and because we got to keep that cap open. We got to be able to retain the players that we've drafted, the Saquon Barkleys, the Daniel Joneses, the Dexter Lawrences, all these guys, Andrew Thomas. Like, we're going to have to extend these guys. And if you start tying up 5 years worth of salary into Leonard Williams, that's going to prohibit you from bringing back Jabril Peppers possibly after next year. So those are things you got to think about as a Giant fan. I would love to tag him. That's what I think the Giants should do, because it's only a 1-year commitment. He gets his $20 million fully guaranteed. And then after that, either let him walk, sign him to extension. All avenues are open. And if he doesn't cooperate, you still have the option to then trade him before the year starts. We've seen several teams do it, tag and trade. So I think that's the best course of action. I don't know if they're going to do that. I think Dalvin's going to go, and I love Dalvin. But I look at the way that this team drafts. They've shown a history for being able to find talent at that position, whether it be Linval Joseph, who we cut a number of years ago. We've drafted so many really good interior defensive linemen, not to mention you just drafted B.J. Hill 3 years ago in the 3rd round. He could step and get a more expanded role. You drafted Dexter Lawrence in the 1st round. I think those guys could assume a stronger, more reps. And I think that you could replace the production from Dalvin Tomlinson. And you could still draft an interior defensive lineman in, say, the 3rd round or so. So it sucks. I want to keep everybody, but you got to make tough decisions. And you got to ask yourself, who's more valuable to this defense? And if you ask me, if I'm being honest, even though I may like Dalvin more, he's a homegrown Giant, I think it's Leonard Williams. And I think Leonard Williams fits the scheme better. Joe Judge preaches versatility. Leonard Williams can do so many different things. You can play him on the inside. You can play him on the outside. He can play the 3-4, the 4-3. Tomlinson's not as versatile. Tomlinson was also no connections to Gettleman. Gettleman traded for Williams. Tomlinson was here with Jerry Reese. I just think the ties are stronger with Williams. I think Williams will be back. And then with the extra money, if I'm the Giants, I said this a couple of weeks ago, or maybe even like a week ago. It's a very rare free agency period. This is not common where the cap goes down. Traditionally, it goes up. So what you're going to have more free agents than ever before, because these teams are going to have to cut these players to get over the budget.
Right.
And you're going to have teams with no money to spend, which means if you're smart, you wait back. You say, I'm going to let all these teams with money spend, and I'm going to get bargains, much like we did with Logan Ryan last year. There's going to be more players available this year. I think there's going to be several instances like Logan Ryan last year where these guys that you think are going to get $8 to $10 million end up settling for 5 or 6. And I think if the Giants are smart and patient, they'll be able to fill in some holes later in the free agency process. Maybe get that cornerback too. Maybe get that depth on the offensive line. Maybe get that replacement for Kevin Zeitler if you decide to cut him.
Right.
I think they could do things like that. But I think it'll require patience and waiting. I think it's what they will do. That would be the approach I would take. And if they do that, I have to go with a weapon in the 1st round. I have to. I got to either take a wide receiver or pitch the tight end.
Right.
Got to do it. Which guy it'll be, I don't know. In my first mock draft, they had Devontae Smith falling to us. Smith or Waddle, if I had to guess. I think that's who we're choosing from at the wide receiver spot, if not for Pitts.
Right. I to be quite honest, I really like getting a wide receiver, but for some reason Kyle Pitts has just been on my radar, and I really want him. But I think that if the Eagles are smart, they'll end up drafting him because they're getting rid of Zach Ertz, I'm pretty sure. So but the Eagles are terrible at drafting. So it might end up that Kyle Pitts ends up down at 11 and then we pick him up. But I 100% agree with you. And also with Leonard Williams, with the JJ Watt, signing with Arizona that just went down, it's what does this mean for this position? He just got $31 million and $24 million of it is guaranteed. Leonard Williams might not be at the same level as JJ Watt, but you could argue that he could be making all of this money.
At this point, I'm going to be honest. I know JJ Watt's a name, right? JJ Watt's 32 years old. JJ Watt has injury history. If I'm Leonard Williams, I'm worth more than JJ Watt. JJ Watt had 5 sacks last year. He had, he's been hurt. Leonard Williams coming up a career year. He's still only 27. He's been durable his entire career. I look at it like this. If I'm Leonard Williams' agent, I'm like, oh, we just cashed in. JJ Watt just got $16 million a year. Yeah, we just cashed in. We're holding out. We're getting our 20. I think that was actually a win for Leonard Williams.
Absolutely. I think and that's what's scary for us, because we don't have that money to give him, and then he's going to want to look somewhere else. So there's, the money thing is a really big deal for us right now. And something that I think that we've done today of all days is the whole the tight end situation with us with Levine Toilolo.
Yeah.
And they're deciding that they're going to restructure his deal and, keep him around. And to be quite honest with you, I don't really understand why they're doing this, because I believe it's almost $3 million that they could have added to our cap if we didn't keep him around. So what do you think is going through Gettleman's head by keeping Toilolo around? Is there something special about him? Or is it like, or something going on with Ingram? Do we think we're not going to draft a tight end? What do you think's going on with this?
It's a great question. When I first saw it, I was like, what the, I started cursing. I'm not going to curse. I was like, what the hell is, what the hell is going on? Why are they bringing back Toilolo? And then I thought about it. Okay. So they said he was due $3 million, which is no. Yeah. Especially in this market, like the salary cap's going down. The guy only took 27% of the snaps. He's a blocking tight end. You could find a blocking tight end in the draft and pay him $800,000.
Right.
I'm going to reserve judgment until I see what the new salary is. They said that they're going to restructure. So if they get him down to $1 million, I can't complain. That's a back end of the roster type contract. I'm okay with that. Okay. Because you're just going to have to draft the guy to replace him anyway. You're going to pay him about that anyway. So if they pay him $1 million, okay. If it's $2.5 million, I'm going to be pissed. I think it's a dumb decision. And yeah, people watch this may say, well, what's $1 million? Well, is that really going to affect the team? In a market like this, it could. Yes. We need as much as we possibly can, and you can't throw away money like that. I like Doyle. I think he's good for what he is. He's a blocking tight end. He's a guy that I think we could use on the goal line. Great. You need players like that. But it's got to be near league minimum. If it's 1.1, 1.2, I could live with that. If it's 2.5, no, bad decision.
No, I when I saw that today too, I was like, why would we keep him around? We've barely heard anything from him this past season. Like, what is it about this guy? And I really, I had the same reaction. I was just like, why are we dealing with this right now? This is so stupid. And the fact that, we could use free agency or the draft to get someone like you said, like get them for cheap and get a different tight end that's not just a blocking tight end, someone that can actually catch the ball. So I don't understand why this whole thing is going down. It's very odd. But I just want to jump back to free agency really quick. Is there any wide receivers in free agency right now that you're interested in for the Giants to pick up, and why?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to say Allen Robinson because I don't think that's happening. I don't think that's realistic. I think he's the best wide receiver, but it's not happening. I think he's going to get tagged by the Bears. I think Golladay, there's a slight, when I say slight, I mean like 2%, like not very likely at all, but I think there's a slight chance. The Giants have shown interest in the past. There was rumors that they actually tried to trade for him in season this year. I think it was October 29th when that report came out from Jordan Renan. So I think there are ties to Golladay, and word came out today. I actually made a video on it. Word came out today that the Lions may not franchise tag him. And if they don't, I think the Giants will throw their hat in the ring. I'm not saying they're going to get him, but I think they'll throw their hat in the ring. But the thing is, I think he's going to be the most sought after free agent wide receiver because I think the other guys will either be, they'll be tagged or re-signed with their own teams. So I think he's going to get a lot of money. But I do think the Giants will be involved with Golladay. Of the top guys, he'd be the guy I guess I'd be interested in. But then the other thing Giants fans got to realize, if you do that, you're sacrificing other players on your team. You're giving him $20 million. That means probably Leonard Williams ain't coming back. Right. So that's something you got to factor in. In terms of the more affordable wide receivers, I love Tyrell Williams, but I thought he'd go for much cheaper than what the Lions signed him for. Actually, before free agency started, when he was cut, he got like $7 million as like a cheap option. Mid-tier guys, obviously you hear about Curtis Samuel, and you hear about Corey Davis. Those are the mid-tier guys. And Samuel makes sense. He's got ties to Gettleman. Gettleman drafted him in the second round with Carolina. And Corey Davis has ties to Logan Ryan. Ryan said that he was going to help the Giants recruit this offseason. And I actually think he fits this scheme very well. I think Davis fits the scheme well. To me, it comes down to dollars and cents. Like if those guys are willing to come here for $8-9 million, I'm good with that. I don't want to overpay though. I don't want to overpay for a mid-tier free agent wide receiver. But if I get him at a good price, I'm okay with that. There's tons of cheap options. Josh Reynolds from the Rams I like. That's more in the $2 or $3 million range. In the end, I don't think we're going to get a premium wide receiver. I think we're going to focus that in that first round pick on the wide receiver.
Yeah, I think so too. And I kind of want to give like an overall scenario. Let's just say the Giants end up getting some sort of wide receiver that we're really excited about, whether it's Waddle, Smith, Galladay, like whoever it ends up being. We have the guy, we have Daniel Jones, we fix our offensive line. Saquon comes back, Gallman comes back. We have this team. Best case scenario at this point. Do you see the Giants coming back with like a winning season next year? I don't know if they're going to be going to the Super Bowl, but maybe they end up winning the division. Maybe they end up getting into the playoffs. Do you see them being successful in the next season coming up?
I do. And I don't know what they're going to do this offseason, but I believe in this regime. A lot of people hate Dave Gettleman. I don't. He does some boneheaded things where I want to punch a hole in my wall. But overall, I like his general philosophy. I think people just in New York don't have patience. You know that. And they don't want to sit through a rebuild. And the Giants went to rock bottom because that's what you're supposed to do. And They're slowly building it up. And I definitely believe in Joe Judge. And I like the pairing. I think we have a really good coaching staff. I think we have a staff that gets the most out of their players. And we're going to make additions. This offense will be better next year. This offensive line will have another year under their belt playing together. They should be improved. Everybody in this offense now will be a year more experienced in the Jason Garrett scheme. So that alone, even if they didn't bring in anybody, just getting Saquon Barkley back, just having more experience in the scheme, the offensive line have another year under their belt, the offense is going to be better, in my opinion. Now you factor in that you bring in weapons on top of it. Yeah, I think the Giants are going to have I'm hoping at least close to a league average offense. And that's a huge jump. You're talking about one of the worst offenses in the league coming up to near league average. And if they could do that, and I am so excited about the defense. And we'll see what happens with Leonard Williams and Dalvin Tomlinson. But you're getting McKinney back. He only played like 2 games last year in terms of like getting full reps. Yeah. Lorenzo Carter should be back. I actually think Carter fits the scheme beautifully. Got hurt early into the season. Zimenez will be back. I think we're going to add some pieces, whether it be free agency or the draft. And again, we talk about the offense. They'll be more experienced in the scheme. Well, defense will be too. These guys will be more accustomed to Patrick Graham's scheme. Graham already showed that he's brilliant. I mean, what he's able to do with that defense on a week-in, week-out basis. So, yeah, and the biggest reason why I'm confident going into this year is the coaching staff. I think another year together, a lot of people laughed at me last year when the Giants started off 0-5. I made a video, and I said that I think this team is on the same timeline of the 2019 Miami Dolphins. The 2019 Miami Dolphins brought in a young coach, Brian Flores, from the Patriots. We brought in Joe Judge from the Patriots. The Dolphins started that year 0-8. They finished the year 5-11. They showed promise. They won 5 out of their last 8 games. Giants started 1-7. They finished the year 5-3, 6-10. I think it's a very comparable situation. Yeah. Young coach from the New England School of Thought, young team, learned to grow as the season went along. Not to mention all the obstacles. You had different schemes on both sides of the ball. The pandemic didn't help either. Right. Now you come back another year, softer schedule, more accustomed to the scheme. I mean, you look at our schedule last year. We, out of our 10 non-divisional games, obviously you play 6 in division. 7 of those teams made the playoffs, and almost 8. Arizona just missed it. So we played a really tough out-of-division schedule last year. This year it's going to be softer. There's no way. You look at the AFC West. I don't think the Chargers are that good yet. I don't think the Raiders are great. The Broncos suck. The Chiefs are, of course, good. Right. Out the Bucks, yeah, they're defending champs. Right. The Saints, though, the Saints are going to lose so many players. They're negative 90 in cap space. They're cutting all these players. Breeze is gone. Mm-hmm. The Panthers don't impress me, and the Falcons suck. So I look at our out-of-division schedule, and I'm like, that's the other thing. Like last year before the season started, if I'm being honest, I looked at the schedule before week 1. I said, okay, Steelers week 1, Mike Tomlin, no offseason. There is no way we're beating them. I looked at the Ravens. I said, there's no way we're beating them. Going into the season, the 49ers were the defending NFC champion. No way we're beating them. The Bucks, I didn't think we could beat. The Seahawks, I didn't think we could beat. We ended up beating them. But there was like 5 or 6 games on the schedule last year where I looked at it and I said, yeah, we're 0-6. Right. This year, I don't feel that way. Outside of the Chiefs game, I look at our schedule and I say, well, the Eagles don't scare me anymore. Cowboys don't scare me anymore. No. Yes, I feel much more confident about this team this year. And I'm expecting at least a 500 season. I think they're going to be competitive this year. Yeah, I'd like to think so too. And I think that you hit the nail on the head there, especially with
the coaching staff with the Giants now. I'm really stoked that Flaherty is back on this coaching stack for the offensive line, because I think that is something we need to work on a lot. And with Daniel Jones having more than enough time to actually throw the ball, it could actually make a huge difference in our offense. So I'm really stoked to have him on our team, on our coaching staff. And when we played the Seattle Seahawks and you came on the show like that week after,
That was
and
a
it
fun
was
week.
like we were like on cloud 9. And to be quite honest with you though, that game sparked the Seattle Seahawks downfall. Like they just went downhill after that game. I think Pat Graham just completely ruined their offense somehow, because they just didn't do anything after the fact. They looked horrible in the playoffs. So I'm very excited for this upcoming season. And I think that you're right. There's so many teams that would be scary. Like the Saints would be a lot scarier if, I don't know if Drew Brees is going to come back or not, but
I don't think he will. If he does, I'd actually welcome it, because at this point he's done.
Yeah, I know. And it's like kind of like painful to watch him play now, because he's had so many injuries throughout this one season. And I'm like, you're 41 years old, dude. Like you gotta like relax. It's time to
You already got a ring, Drew. You made your money. You're a legend in New Orleans.
Right. I think that I'm a little bit afraid of the Buccaneers, but not as much though, because we were on the brink of beating them this past season. They didn't really scare me all that much, and like we could have won that game if that wasn't for that penalty at the last
easily could have won that game. Easily could have won that game.
So I agree with you, and I think that could be really exciting. And I wanted to ask you also really quick, in terms of the division, what do you think is going to go on with Dak Prescott? Because I don't think anybody knows what's going to go on.
Dak Prescott is that's a tough one. I think in the end, I think they're going to tag him. I don't think they're going to give him a contract. I think they're just going to franchise tag him. They'll let him play out the last year on the tag. And I mean, I guess they'll see how it plays out. Like if the Cowboys have a great year and they go 12-4 or whatever, they'll probably extend them. But if the Cowboys kind of stay where they've been, around 500, I think they let him go in the end. But I do think he'll be back with Dallas this year. I think they'll franchise tag him.
I agree. I think that they're just going to end up tagging him. But yeah, the rest of the teams in our division do not scare me at all. The Eagles, after the whole Carson Wentz thing,
they're done.
They're completely in shambles. And they're like, oh, we're going to use our 6th round pick to draft a quarterback. I'm like, why? What is the point of that? So I'm really not afraid of them. The Cowboys, if they're also talking about working on their offense, which they don't need to work on at all. Like work on your defense. It's completely just garbage. And Washington just got rid of Alex Smith, and they're working on getting a new quarterback, and they're going to be in a whole rebuilding mode too. So very, very possible that we can win the division next year. I mean, it still might be a bit of a garbage division, but I don't care.
I don't care if it's.
I think we're going to be at the top of that garbage division.
I think the Eagles are no chance, in my opinion. I do think it's a 3-team race, and I respect Washington. I think they got a really good defense, one of the best defenses in the sport. But we don't know their quarterback. Right now it's Taylor Heineke or whatever, however you pronounce his name. I don't know if they're going to sign anybody. I don't know if they're going to draft a quarterback. If they draft a rookie, like, I don't know, say they draft Mac Jones if he falls there out of Alabama, I don't think they're going to do much. Rookie quarterbacks struggle in the NFL. Yeah. If they sign a veteran or trade for a veteran with some credentials, I don't know, Jameis Winston. I just throwing a name out there. I don't know. Maybe I could see them being competitive because they do have a really good defense. They have some nice weapons on offense. They could be a challenge. I'm not going to write them off, but they don't scare me. Like we could stick with Washington. I'm not. They don't strike fear into my heart. Had they gotten a guy like Matt Stafford, yeah, maybe I would have said but they didn't. Or Deshaun Watson. I don't see that happening. The Cowboys are interesting because the Cowboys got better as the season wore along. First half they were horrible. Second half they started to play better. They're getting Dak back, but the question I still have with Dallas, their defense sucks. Like
it's so bad,
and it got better. Like the defense, the first half was like all time bad, and then the second half it got better. But Dallas doesn't scare me. I don't care about their weapons. I believe in our defense. I think I'm not saying we could shut them out, but I think we could keep them. I think we could keep them at bay, and I think if our it's going to come down to this for me between the Giants and Dallas. what improves more, the Giants offense or the Cowboys defense? Whichever unit improves more will probably be the favorite to win this division.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's definitely, but also I really don't know if the Cowboys realize their defense is bad. Like I feel like they're like, yeah, no, it's fine. It's just leave it. We're gonna work on Dak and work on our offense and this and that. So it's gonna be an interesting season next year. And in terms of Washington, my prediction in terms of their quarterbacking situation, I don't know if it's gonna happen or not, but I think that it would be interesting if Cam Newton ended up there because of the fact that Ron Rivera is their coach, and obviously they spent a lot of time in Carolina together. So that's kind of my thought. I don't know if it's going to happen, but it kind of seems like it would make sense just because of the fact that, I think,
can see it.
I think Ron Rivera had brought over, what was the other one? Kyle Allen.
Yeah.
And like, he really didn't do much for him, but Cam needs a job. Cam's out there looking for a job right now. Ron Rivera needs a quarterback. It's possible. I just don't know.
I wouldn't be shocked. The one name I have heard, and I don't know if there's anything to these rumors, is Darnold. I've heard that the
Really?
Washington's talked to the Jets about trying to trade for Sam Darnold. I actually don't hate Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold's been put in a horrible situation with the Jets. Like we complain about Jones's situation, times that by 2 with the Jets.
Yeah.
Like what they've provided him with, but I still don't know if Darnold will be great in Washington because their offensive line's not that good. They got some weapons. Gibson's a nice running back. They obviously got Terry McLaurin. I don't know if I love that fit, but I have heard that rumor, Darnold to Washington in a trade, obviously.
Yeah. I've heard some rumors about Sam Darnold as well in terms of the 49ers, just because Salah is now the Jets.
That's a good fit.
He's got the connections in the 49ers.
I think Darnold will play well there.
Yeah, I think so too.
Shanahan is a brilliant offensive mind, and I think if Darnold got put there, I think he'd be successful.
Yeah, and I believe he also went to the University of Southern California,
Yeah.
so he used to the area, the atmosphere, the weather, all that kind of stuff. It's very much, what he's used to. And Salah, maybe he wants to bring some 49ers over to the Jets, guys he's familiar with, and trade Sam Darnold over there to get something. Nobody knows what's going on with Jimmy Garoppolo right now. It's a mess. Like, it's like he's staying, he's leaving, he's going, he's got like.
I think the coolest destination for Garoppolo is New England. He goes back to Belichick, and Belichick was pissed when they traded him. He was pissed because Brady went to ownership, because Brady saw that Garoppolo was pretty good, and he didn't want to breathe down his neck, because at the time the Patriots were starting to fall off a little bit. Brady was approaching 40, and he said to himself, "No, I want this guy off the team." And they went above Belichick's head. Belichick wanted to keep Garoppolo. He loved him.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Belichick was pissed. That's kind of what started the division between Brady and Belichick when they traded away Garoppolo, because Brady went above Belichick's head and went to ownership and made them trade away Jimmy Garoppolo. And I've always wanted to see Jimmy G back with the Patriots and to see what Belichick could do with him. So if he's going to go anywhere, I think that makes the most sense.
Yeah, I agree. I think that would be the best fit and the most exciting storyline. Jimmy goes back to New England. Maybe they start to build up this Patriots, crazy team again. I don't know if Jimmy Garoppolo is the next Tom Brady or anything like that. I mean, to be fair, he did bring the 49ers to a Super Bowl, but he lost there. But, he's a good quarterback and could be fun to see him in New England again. But this offseason is going to be wild.
We're just getting started.
I know. It's just a toss up in the air at this point. QB's going here. They're leaving. They're going.
Where do you think Watson's going to go? Where do you think Watson's going to go?
I mean, I had seen a lot of things about the Panthers. I don't see it though. Like, it just doesn't really make any sense to me for him to go there. I saw a lot of really dumb people on Twitter talking about him going to the Cardinals because JJ just went there and D-Hop is there. And I was like, did you guys forget that Kyler Murray is a person? Because, like, he's there. Like,
wait. So people, who said this? I'm just curious.
Oh, I don't even remember. It was just.
I love the things I read on Twitter, by the way. But you're talking about a franchise that traded up for Josh Rosen. They moved on from him after 1 year.
1 year.
To draft this guy first overall, and now they're gonna go. Yeah, okay. The one destination I think makes sense for Watson outside of Carolina. And Carolina's going to be aggressive and
Yeah.
I've heard the Bears too. The Bears have said they're going to be all in to try to get a quarterback. But I think if I'm Houston, the one destination I'm all over is Miami. And that's if they're open to moving on from Tua Tagovailoa. But Miami has the 3rd pick, and they have the 18th pick. There's been rumors, and I think they'd get even more than that. But you start there, and then you could get your replacement for Watson at the number 3 pick. You take Fields, whoever.
Yeah.
I think that is the best fit. Whether or not Miami would give them the price they want, I don't know. And I think it makes sense for Miami because Miami has a really good team right now. They get a guy like Watson, all of a sudden they're Super Bowl contenders. So
right.
And maybe they even trade you Tua back. If you like Tua, they trade you Tua. You get like 4 first-round picks on. So I think that's an interesting possibility. Is Miami?
No, I like Miami. I think like that makes more sense to me than Carolina. And I know Carolina, like you said, is going to make a big push for him. But I think that makes a lot more sense, and it will just make that division so much more exciting too. And yeah, Super Bowl contenders. Why not? Their defense is immaculate. Like, as if they have a stellar offense, they're going to be an insanely good team.
They'll be in the thick of it. I mean, they'll be in the thick. I wouldn't say they're the favorites, but they'd be a top 3 or 4 team in the AFC. You get Deshaun Watson.
Absolutely. And it can, kind of throws it with the Bills, who I think did phenomenal last year. And like, I was kind of like a bandwagon Bills fan once the playoffs came around. I was like, I want to root for somebody. Might as well root for the only New York team in the playoffs, Buffalo. So I ended up, like really rooting for the Bills, but to have the Bills and the Dolphins, and if Garoppolo goes to the Patriots, makes it a little interesting. The Jets, I don't, maybe it could be interesting with Salah there now, but I think that division just completely flips with Deshaun in there.
So. Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. That changed everything. And I think Josh Allen's terrific on the Bills.
I really like Josh Allen, and I think that he can do some really great things. As long as his problem is, and I've said that throughout the entire playoffs, is he panics when like there's a lot of pressure on him, and he kind of mastered it a little bit, but it really, you could just tell he's still
not a finished product. He's not a finished product, but you see the tools. Like when I watch Josh Allen play, I'm like, there's only like one quarterback that could make that throw. Like he makes plays where you're like, that guy has a chance to be one of the greatest. But he's got to fine tune the rest of his game.
And he's just a huge person. So there's so many times where defenses try to bring him down. It takes like 3 guys to get him down on the ground. Like he's like 6'5", 230 something pounds. Like he is not an easy guy to take down. So it's the Bills I think are going to have a great season again next year. But yeah, Watson to the Dolphins would probably be the best, like you said. But I really think Carolina's like just honing in on him, like full, like putting all of their effort in.
And we know Carolina's aggressive. We saw it last year when everybody thought that we were going to get Matt Rule as our head coach. Right. And then Carolina gave him a 7-year contract, which is unheard of for a guy that's never coached in the NFL. So we know when Carolina wants something, they're willing to pay a premium. So it's very possible.
Yeah, I was kind of excited to have Matt Rule as our head coach for the Giants. Like when I heard about that, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like coming from Baylor, like that could be really great. And then all of a sudden, just like that, all of a sudden he's a Carolina Panther. I was like, oh, okay, never mind.
I'm happy with who we got though.
Absolutely. I agree. I love Joe Judge. But Chris, we've been on a tangent here. Why don't you let everybody know where they can find like your YouTube channel and your social media before we wrap everything up?
Yeah, you can find me at the Entertainah, Talkin Sports with the AH, like we said at the top of the podcast. I talk about the Mets, the Knicks, and mainly the Giants. Probably 95% of my content. I'll be doing a lot more live streams as the draft approaches, free agency gets going. I'll probably be live, 8 days a week. But I'm looking forward to covering all of it. It's kind of a dead period right now. Once free agency comes, that's when everything starts to heat up, because then you start to get, you start to find out what the team needs actually are leading up into the draft. So I'm really looking forward to covering this team this offseason, and then ultimately hopefully covering them in the Super Bowl this year. I think, all kidding aside, I think we'll be more competitive this year. And it's the first time since I've been on YouTube. This is going to be my 4th year, I guess, right? Because I was there for the 18 regular season. Yeah, this will be my 4th regular season coming up for the New York Giants. It's my first time going into a season where I actually feel that we could be good, like actual,
Yes.
and that's nice to feel that way. I think we're starting to turn the corner, and I can't wait to cover this team when things get good.
Yeah, I mean, free agency, I think, is like next Wednesday. So we only got a week and a half left. By the time this podcast comes out, it'll be a week. So it's coming down to the wire. But Chris, I really appreciate you taking time out to come on the show. And I can't wait to see what you put out for the draft.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me on.
Yep, of course. All right, everybody, we're going to go back to our regular scheduled podcast programming. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the interview with Chris Guzzo. I know I did. He's a great guy to talk to, especially about the Giants. So hope that you guys enjoyed that. Before we get into the rest of our show, quick little read, really quick. Just want to tell you guys about Instacart. So imagine it was possible to get local fresh groceries delivered to your front door. No cap. Okay, just ignore the fact that I just said no cap. You would have so much free time. You'd be able to do a bunch of stuff, include, I don't know, watch some girl who talks sports on YouTube or listen to the podcast, all that good stuff. Instacart gives you unlimited grocery delivery for one low monthly fee, better than the other guys who nickel and dime you whenever you use their app. So, one low monthly fee. Instacart can deliver to your front door in as little as 1 hour. You're not even tied down to one store. You can buy from a bunch of different places, and a real person goes around and picks up all of the items that you selected, handpicked by your preferences. So don't worry, they're going to take all your gentle items just like your eggs and keep them safe. So to start your 14-day free trial, click the link in the show notes to know that you were sent by me, the girl who talks sports, and it helps to support our show. Instacart. Never step foot in a grocery store again. All right, friends. So we have some things to discuss. As you know, you were listening to Chris and I discuss the Dak Prescott situation. Obviously, afterwards, that whole thing became reality. We kept talking about how he was going to get franchise tagged, which I guess is fair. However, that's not what happened. Dak got paid $160 million over the course of 4 years, with $126 million of that guaranteed. The man could walk outside, get hit by a bus, live. I don't want Dak to die. He could get hurt, never play football ever again. $126 million of guaranteed. Just no problem. I am perplexed. Honestly, I have a couple thoughts. I don't even have any notes on this, to be quite honest. I'm speaking from the heart here. Should Dak have gotten paid? Absolutely. I think that he is a above average quarterback. He can do really great things if he's got the tools, if he has an offensive line that blocks for him, if he has a decent defense that isn't letting the other team score relentlessly against them. But I think $160 million is crazy. What should have really happened was they tag him, he goes one more year under the tag, they pay him next year. They have so many things to work on. The Cowboys need a line to protect said quarterback. Dak Prescott needs protection in order to be a good quarterback. Exhibit A, Russell Wilson, a great quarterback. No offensive line. And we even saw that when the Seattle Seahawks played the New York Giants, and the New York Giants won. One of the best days in the past year of my life, to be quite honest with you. It was insane. The fact that they were able to penetrate the offensive line like it was paper. So, same thing with the Cowboys. You need to invest money in other things. I know Jerry Jones is like made of money and he burns money and he uses it to light his cigars. I get it. And I also get that Dak Prescott deserves money. Like, good for him for getting the bag. Good for him. I'm excited for him. I'm excited as a Giants fan because of the fact that the Cowboys are now going to be in cap hell, as they say. They're not going to have any money to get any of the other things that they need for their team. So, happy for me as a Giants fan that the Cowboys did this. For the Cowboys, not so great. For Dak, fantastic. Get your money, sir. Do you, it's done and over with now. The Cowboys, though, they have so many other things that they need to work on. Even their run game, Ezekiel Elliott has done absolutely nothing for them. It's just not even like worth it that he was given all that money last year. So I personally think Cowboys should have figured this out a little bit more. However, for me as a Giants fan, it's just fantastic stuff. And that's all I really want to say about it. But I'm really, congrats, Dak. Congrats on getting $160 million over the course of 4 years. I saw a stat that basically said he makes like $690 something every second he plays, which is a bonkers. Imagine just standing for 1 second and they hand you almost $700. I would just die. I would just pass away gently and happily with $700 in my hand. Just absolutely bonkers. Anyway, that's really all I want to say about Dak Prescott and this whole situation because, again, good for me. I'm not complaining as a fellow fan of the NFC least. Anyway, let's get into our next segment on the show and not my favorite segment on. We didn't have a tea time this week. I just realized we're going into our Let's Talk About It segment. And this week we are going to talk about onside kicks. Yay! Onside kicks. Probably one of the worst things you could ever do in football ever, really. Like, it's just god awful. You should never do an onside kick. The percentage of it happening, I actually have it here. 2020 conversion rates for an onside kick is 4.5%. What I want to talk about today, though, is what I saw on CBS Sports' Instagram. And the Eagles reportedly have proposed this as an alternative to an onside kick several times at this point. And to be quite honest with you, yeah, I think it's a really good idea, and I 100% would go along. Like, I would vote for it if they asked me. If the NFL calls me up tomorrow and it's like, hey Sam, do you want to do this alternative for the onside kick? I'd say, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Anybody, whoever it is. Yeah, I vote yes. So I'm going to explain it to you. And let me know. Let me know if you guys think this is stupid. Let me know if you guys would 100% be on my side. I don't really care either way, but this is what it is. So, according to CBS Sports Instagram post, the Eagles purportedly propose an alternative to the onside kick. Teams get the ball on 4th and 15 in their own territory. If the offense fails to convert, defense takes over in the opponent's territory. And this has been proposed for over the past 2 years, but has failed to get 75% of the vote from owners needed for approval. And like I said earlier, the onside kick percentage is 4.5 in terms of their conversion rates. 4th and 15 is a 12.9% conversion rate. Now, if you ask me, numbers, and I used to be really good at math in high school, but after I went to college, it was not the same. If you have 4.5% chance and a 12.9% chance, I would take the 12.9% chance instead of the other one, because it just makes a lot more sense. And onside kicks are really stupid. They really just don't make any sense. The best one I can think off the top of my head is when Colts punter Pat McAfee kicked it and recovered his own onside kick. Hands down the best onside kick ever. There shouldn't be any other ones. Why I think that this is a good idea. It makes the game more interesting. You get put in your own territory. It's 4th and 15. It's very possible that you can chuck it down the field, convert and get down, score a touchdown. Could be really exciting. Let's say that it fails. The team who gets the ball now in the opponent's territory has more of a chance to score now. They're already beyond the halfway point of the field. I just think that the stakes are so much higher instead of you just rolling the ball towards the other team, which 95% they're going to pick it up. It makes so much sense. It really does. And I really want them to vote yes on this because, like I said, it will make the game so much more interesting. It will make things just flow a little bit more instead of them also knowing they're gonna onside kick and the other team's gonna pick it up. I know it's exciting when onside kicks are recovered, But think about instead the team converting 4th and 15. I don't know. I just think that it would be a lot more exciting than punting the ball. So that's what I wanted to talk about today on our Let's Talk About It segment. Let me know. What do you guys think? Do you think that this is a good idea? Do you think that the onside kick should just stand and we should just forget about alternatives to it like altogether? I don't know. Comment or send me a message on Instagram or Twitter or tweet at me. I don't care. Let me know. I want to get other people's opinions on this. Okie dokie, friends. Let's move on to our next segment on the show, and that is our tweet of the week. Our tweet of the week this week is it made me belly laugh, to be quite honest with you. I think that it is absolutely hysterical. And it comes from I'm sure you guys, some people might not recognize the name, but it comes from Ryan Jensen, who is the center for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm sure you've seen him on the sidelines near Tom Brady. He is this enormous human being. He's got fiery red hair. It's curly. It's big. It's insane. That is Ryan Jensen. So Ryan Jensen posts the fact that he gets a spam text. And I know everybody, you've all gotten spam texts before. You've gotten spam calls, and spam texts are even worse because you're like, oh my God, why am I getting a text message? I was so excited that I was like, oh, look, a text, and it's from a random number doing random things. So Ryan Jensen gets said spam text from a random number, and it says, say goodbye to your big stomach with just 1 cup of this a night, and a link. And Ryan Jensen tweets this with just the caption, I feel attacked. And yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Obviously, as a center, you need to be a big guy. You need to be an enormous person to block for your quarterback, to snap the ball, all that stuff. And the fact that the spam text really sent Ryan Jensen that, it is hilarious to me. And the fact, if I got that text message, I would also feel attacked. I get it, Ryan. I totally understand you. I feel you. So that is our tweet of the week this week. And to be quite honest, I think that Ryan Jensen, I think he looks like a hilarious person. So I followed him on Twitter after this because I was like, oh my God, the fact that this man just came out and tweeted this is so funny. All right. And finally, let's get into our feel-good story of the week this week. And this week, I didn't even really see this in the news all that much, but I saw it on Twitter, and it really warmed my heart. It was a tweet. Where is it? Here it is. And it just was, I was like, you know what? This is going to be our feel-good story this week. So, and even the tweet says, here's your feel-good story of the day. So this is what the tweet says. Bonnie O'Reilly, mother of Stanley Cup champion Ryan O'Reilly, donated her kidney to the area manager who gave her sons extra ice time as kids. Also, if you just heard the doorbell in the background, somebody just rang my doorbell. So this was really sweet. Some guy, this man, arena manager, always gave her sons extra time on the ice to practice, do whatever for hockey, and he needed a kidney. And this woman must have been a match for him and donated her kidney to him. Like, that is just the most selfless thing I've ever heard, just because that guy had given her children more ice time at the arena. Just absolutely most selfless thing I've heard in a really long time. I loved that. I loved that feel-good story. And I'm happy that I got to share with it. I'm happy I got to share it with you guys. So, that's our feel-good story of the week. And friends, that is going to do it for our show this week. Thank you guys so much for listening this week. Don't forget to subscribe or follow on all podcasting platforms. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, The Girl Who Talks Sports, and turn on notifications to make sure that you get notified every time we upload a new video. New extra content video will be out this week on the YouTube channel. And finally, don't forget to follow us on social media, TGWTS Podcast on both Twitter and Instagram. I hope you all have a fun, fantastic sports-filled day, and I will see you guys all next week. Bye!